And good afternoon, producer Susan. How are you doing this day after Memorial Day?
I'm doing well, Jersey Joe. How are you?
Good. You get down to Ballsburg, the home of the original home of the Memorial Day celebration?
Yep, yep. And even snuck in a lawn mowing in between the rain.
Your grass wasn't too wet to mow?
Uh, could have been a little drier.
Okay.
It was a
All
wet
right.
weekend here.
All right. Well, as you may have guessed, since we're talking about Memorial Day being yesterday, today is May the 26th, the day after Memorial Day. And it's the Jersey situation with Jersey Joe, news and perspective you won't hear on TV. And today is Tuesday the 26th. You're going to hear this on Wednesday. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but first, hey, I got a question for you. You've got a dog, right?
Yep.
Don't know if you heard this. It's not part of the podcast, but in Nebraska yesterday, there was a guy pulled up to a convenience store in a camper van and went inside. He left his dog in the car. You know what else he left in the car?
His car keys, his
No, he
wallet.
left a loaded shotgun with one in the chamber and the nose and the safety off. And when the dog jumped over the seat, he fired the shotgun, which went through the door of his camper van, and one of the pellets, it was birdshot, and one of the pellets hit a woman. There was a woman sitting in her car next to his camper van, and she got hit in the arm. So
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
you don't keep loaded shotguns in your car with your dog, do you?
No, no, I don't.
Okay. That could have been our stupidest thing I've heard all week, but it isn't. All right. All right. Here's what we're going to try to squeeze in today because we're on a tight schedule tonight. All right. Quote of the week is from Senator Ted Cruz on the cover up of President Biden's mental decline, and he goes to town on the Democrats. Stupidest thing I've heard all week. We have a quote from a New York State Assemblywoman who believes that there is such a thing as heat seeking bullets that can cook a deer if you hit them with one of those bullets. And she thinks those bullets are real. Have you ever heard about a heat seeking bullet?
No, I mean in the movies, but not in real life.
No, not an incendiary bullet, a heat seeking bullet. Okay. Um, By the way, if you thought hell wasn't for sale, we'll tell you where you can buy it and how much it would cost you. So if you want to buy hell, it's for sale.
Yeah.
In our medical minute, and this is something you turned me on to, we'll tell you about a species of tick that used to be confined to just the Southwest
Hmm.
that's making its way up to the Northeast, and it can transmit a disease known as alpha-gal syndrome and
Yep.
how that affects people who contract it. And we'll tell you more about that.
Yeah. Because it's coming our way.
It's
Well,
coming
it's
your
already
way.
here. It's already here.
All right. We'll play a clip of a black woman speaking out of a Cook County, Illinois Board of Commissioners meeting, refuting the claims by liberals that voter ID laws are right or voter ID laws are racist. Cook County, Illinois. You know what Cook County, Illinois is? What cities in Cook County,
That's
Illinois?
Chicago.
It's basically the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
All right. We also have a clip from our old friend Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana describing the scope of Medicaid fraud in this country, and he explains why states have been not more aggressive in identifying and prosecuting it. We're going to skip. I had one about wind turbines degrading long before their useful life. We have a taxpayer relief shot from Calvert County, Maryland, when two thugs armed with the baseball bats choose the wrong house to invade, and we'll tell you why that was the wrong house. All right. So we're going to roll right into Senator Ted Kennedy. And by the way, Jake Tapper, who's a very liberal, he wrote a book detailing what the press knew, what they all talked about when they weren't on camera. They all agreed, yeah, President Biden is losing it. And he wrote the book, detailing the conversations he had with other reporters. And so it was like the best, the worst kept secret. And here's Senator Ted Cruz talking about how that was a cover up. And let me get my speaker out here, and here we go. All right.
For all of their strutting about, protesting that they support democracy. Not a one of them gave a damn about democracy when they pulled Biden off the ballot and dropped Kamala Harris in without a single Democrat primary voter voting for him. And you know what? Not a single Democrat is here today because not a single one of them gives a damn about the fact that they lied to the American people for 4 years. They knew. Every one of them knew that Joe Biden was mentally not competent to do the job. The White House press secretary, she knew when she stood in front of the American people and lied over and over and over again. And they're not here because they can't defend themselves. It wasn't a surprise. For 4 years, the White House hid President Biden from Republican senators would not let him meet with us. He served 40 years in this body. We all know him. And they deliberately lied. And by the way, Jake Tapper had a bombshell book exposing the incredible scandal that Biden's mental decline was covered up by Jake Tapper. There's a Yiddish word, chutzpah. And that truly is chutzpah. How dare we lie and cover up what we all knew? Now, I have been asked literally 1,000 times by Texans, who was running the country? And I'm going to give you the most terrifying answer. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And not a single Democrat here cares. The most telling proof of Biden's decline came with the signature of the president, the symbol of executive authority that was outsourced to a machine. Mr. Wold, you're a lawyer who served in the White House counsel's office. You understand the gravity of presidential action. Does the president's signature carry legal and constitutional weight under Article 2?
Yes.
Is the act of signing an executive order or signing a law or granting a pardon a delegable duty of the president?
So in that opinion in 2005 from OLC, they said essentially that an auto pen could be used by a subordinate, but the president's determination as to sign the document can never be delegated.
Can that authority be transferred to a staffer or a machine without the president's explicit authorization?
Never.
And if you look at the statistics are stunning. In 2021, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an auto pen. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78 executive orders he signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the auto pen emerge. The first auto pen executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an auto pen. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders. 16 were auto penned. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were auto penned. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was auto penned.
All right, we can pause that.
Mr. Wald?
We can. So that's pretty scary, isn't it?
Yeah. So he brought up a good question. Who was running the country?
Yeah, and he said, I don't know. And I don't know either. I actually think it might have been, some of them, there were cars back and forth where Biden's chief of staff would go virtually every day to Obama's townhome in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and then come back to the White House. So there was a lot of speculation that it was Biden's chief of staff who was taking his direction from former President Obama and basically bringing whatever Obama told him to do, he would come back and put it in motion. And that's the speculation. Now, is there any proof? No, but that's the speculation. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's talk about this stupidest thing I've heard all week. Now, there are such a thing as tracer rounds. You know what a tracer? You've seen them, right? Yeah. Like in a machine gun, they'll put like every fifth or sixth round will have a tracer. Now, a tracer, what that does, now a bullet, what we call bullets are actually cartridges, and the bullet is the little lead piece in the front. And in a tracer round, the back of the bullet, the base of the bullet has got a little cavity in it, and they put a little phosphorus in there. So when the bullet leaves the barrel, the phosphorus in the back end of the bullet glows. All right. But it doesn't seek. It says, oh, there's a hot spot. Let me turn and go to the hot spot. No. And it's just a tracer. By the way, and tracers are already illegal in New York State. But here's this New York woman. She's an assemblywoman in the New York State Legislature, and she wants to ban heat-seeking bullets. Here we go.
Come on. This is crazy. You can't certainly use this for hunting. But some of these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it.
which is a heat-seeking device. So you don't shoot deer with a bullet that size. If you do, you could cook it at the same time.
Assemblywoman Eddington.
She's so wrong. And by the way, and even tracer rounds are already illegal in New York State because they're legal in most states because they can tend to start fires. Okay. So she wants to ban something, number one, that doesn't exist. And even the tracer rounds, which are the closest thing that I can think of to quote an incendiary device, those are already illegal in New York State.
Mhm.
And is that
Yeah, so these, just to clarify, this does not exist.
it does not exist. There is no such thing as a heat-seeking bullet.
Mhm.
And if she's thinking about tracer rounds, they're already in a legal state, and it's not on the tip; it's in the base. It's not nothing. It's nothing on the tip of the bullet. It's a little phosphorus on the base of the bullet that glows when the bullet's fired. Anyway, so that was my stupidest thing I've heard all week. All right. So you want to buy hell?
Yeah, how much is it?
$625,000.
That's all.
Yeah, you want to know where it is? And I'll tell you what it comes with. It's located on 7 acres of land and buildings. It has a ice cream parlor called the Crematorium Ice Cream Parlor. It's known for its Gravedigger Sunrays, the Scream Souvenirs from Hell and Halloween Shop, the Hell's Chapel of Love, which boasts a marriage that starts in hell has nowhere to go but up. Do you want to know where hell is?
Where is it?
It's in Michigan, Hell,
Ah.
Michigan. The whole town is for sale for the low price of $625,000. You get 7 acres of land, an ice cream parlor, a Halloween shop, and a chapel. I'm going to have to look at the map and see
I'm
exactly.
gonna have to look that one up.
Hell, yeah. If you get a moment, Google Hell, Michigan.
Yeah.
See how. But anyway, so you can buy Hell. Hell, Michigan is for sale. All right. So now let's go to Cook County Board of Commissioners. Basically, Cook County is the city of Chicago.
Hmm.
All right. And this woman is at a Cook. She's not at a city council meeting. She's at a Cook County Board of Commissioners because elections, as you know, are handled by the county, right? The county, what do they call it? The county clerk? That's who
Uh-huh.
handles elections. So there were a bunch of white liberals ranting and raving about, the voter ID. We need to stop this. And this black woman gets up and reads these. She particularly singles out some Jewish woman, and she reads them the riot act by saying that the voter IDs are racist. Here we go. This gets back to the soft bigotry of low expectations. You just assume that black people are too stupid to have an ID. And here we go. Well,
The reality is this. Black people's voting is not in danger, and you know it's not. And you know it's not. I'm 63 years old. I've been voting since I was 18. I have never had a problem voting. Now, that may apply to my mother and father. It applies to my grandparents. Surely it does. And in fact, because it does, every single person in this room, including that Jewish lady that just got up and talked, need to really be thanking us. Really need to be thanking us for getting y'all the right to vote, for getting y'all the right to be here, instead of sitting up here manipulating the Voting Rights Act like something's getting ready to happen to our right to vote, when you know that's not true. So now you all gonna drag black people in here, definitely some senior citizens, and gonna have them come up here and talk about how they scared to vote, how this messed up their right to vote. Women need to vote. All that junk, when you know it's not true. Just like you sit up here and make like black people can't get IDs. Us requiring IDs to vote, it's gonna stop black people from voting. Why black people ain't got IDs?
you got to watch the
See,
video.
you all get more and more ridiculous. But you can't, in this room full of these black people, talk about that federal case that just got filed Monday that's talking about how you all are stealing property at Cook County sales. Where the black people in here? Raise your hand that if they told you to come in here to talk about how your property got stolen.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there, but she's just reading him the riot act, and she's 60. You ought to see the video when she's like tapping the desk and she's pointing at people around the room. You can put this link up on the website, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
and you really want to watch the video and see. She's a very animated person. All right. All right, let's go to ticks. So I know you know all about this because you turned out. Now we're all familiar with Eastern ticks and Lyme disease. Right? Everybody knows about Lyme disease, right?
Yeah, deer ticks, Lyme disease, and then the other big one with people and also dogs is anaplasmosis.
Uh-huh. But there's a different type of tick that's started out in Texas. It's called the Lone Star tick, and it's got a
Hence the
white,
name.
right, it's got a white spot on it. And if you get bit by that tick, you can get something called alpha ALPH hyphen gal, GAL. And it's a type of food allergy which you can get from the tick bite. And if you get it, this allergy makes you allergic to red meat from beef. When I say red meat, including pork, which is not
Mhm.
really red, but
It's mammal, basically any mammal meat.
any mammal meat, right? Beef,
So, yeah.
pork. Does it include chicken? No,
No.
no.
So, it goes on. So it's any mammalian product, not just the meat. So, as you said, cows, pigs, so your beef products, your pork
And
products,
lamb, and right.
and lamb, yeah, lamb, any mammal product, goat, because a lot
Right.
of cheese. So
Any
it's
cheese, any milk, any
so yeah,
butter.
it's mammalian products. It's not just the meat, it's the dairy products too that come from these animals, like any of the milk and the butter and the cheese, goat cheese, feta cheese,
Yogurt.
um, yeah,
Yogurt.
yogurt. So it's not just the meat allergy, it's much broader. It's mammalian products,
Mhm.
which includes the dairy, the byproducts of these
Right.
animals as well. So no, it does not include poultry because poultry is not a mammal.
Right.
So you can eat chicken and you can eat eggs, but
Can you
you
imagine
can't
going through
put butter,
life
you
and
can't cook with butter.
yeah, can you imagine going through life and you can't have a hamburger, you can't have a pork chop, you can't have a glass of milk, you can't put butter on your bread.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's worse than just being a vegetarian. It's because it excludes all of these dairy products. So it's essentially you have to become a vegan.
yep, absolutely.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
again, poultry aside, and eggs aside, but yeah, as a meat eater, that would be devastating.
yeah, not never have a steak again or even
And again, I don't eat just the price of red meat. I don't eat a lot of red meat, but I like red meat, but it's the
yeah.
dairy. I mean, I can't go a day without eating cheese or yogurt.
And even so you couldn't have sausage, you couldn't have a sausage sandwich, you couldn't have a sausage pizza,
Yeah.
you couldn't have pepperoni.
Well, you
So
couldn't have pizza, Jersey Joe, because of the cheese.
that's right, you couldn't have it because of the
So,
cheese, right? Yeah.
yeah, and then you have to think about even like what bread products are cooked with, baked with,
Yeah.
a lot of baked
Yep.
goods are baked with
Yeah.
dairy products.
So be really careful. Don't wear shorts, particularly if you're in high grass. And I was actually watching 60 Minutes this past Sunday, and they actually had some guys up in Nantucket who were engaged in a big
Oh yeah, I
experiment.
saw that. Yeah.
And one of the things I would recommend, even if you wear long pants, put a good sturdy rubber band around your pant cuff so a tick
Mhm.
can't climb up your leg.
Yeah.
Um,
Or put your socks on the outside of
or
your,
put your socks on the outside of your pants and tuck your
yeah.
pants in, or put a rubber band around your pant leg.
Yeah, a
Uh,
really devastating disease.
right.
And they were talking about, I think they said that like 15% of the entire population in Nantucket. Now, Nantucket is a tourist town. It does not have a large permanent residence, but of the residents who do live there,
15%.
15% of them have Lyme's disease.
Or have had it and have been cured. They've gotten
Yeah.
the
Well, it's only
antibiotic.
curable if you catch it early.
Catch it early and get the antibiotic. Absolutely correct.
Yeah, if you let it go,
Yeah.
it's going to cause lifelong debilitating illness.
Right.
And a
So
lot of our dogs, a lot of dogs are susceptible to anaplasmosis is another one that people can also get too, by the way.
right. And what is that? Describe
That's
that.
it's another tick-borne disease, blood disease, lethargy, and it has its own host of problems. But I think this Lone Star one is,
Scarier, much scarier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Life changing. Life
It,
changing.
definitely life-changing. And I mean, people who have Lyme disease will tell you that is Lyme disease. That
Right.
is also life-changing, but Lyme disease can be cured if caught early.
Right.
There is no known cure
Right.
for alpha-gal syndrome at this
Alpha-gal
time.
syndrome. Yeah. So
Yeah.
folks, be careful. Stay out of the tall grass. And if you have to go into tall grass, you're out playing golf. Put rubber bands around the pant legs and don't
Or
go.
use, something with
Re,
DEET in it.
yeah. DEET insect repellent. All right. Hey, I got to rush along because I got to cut this early for all tonight. I'm going to go to Senator John Kennedy explaining the magnitude of Medicaid fraud. And we've talked about, a lot of these things we talked about, like the hospice thing in Los Angeles, where they had, I forget how many hundred hospice centers in a 6 square block area. That was all Medicaid. Remember, that was all Medicaid fraud, and certainly up in
Yeah.
Minneapolis. Here's Senator John Kennedy talking about the magnitude and why states aren't doing anything about it. Here we go.
In our country, if you're too poor to be sick, we will pay for your doctor. That's not true in every country, as you know, Mr. President. Some countries, they'll just let you die in a ditch. We don't do that in America. We will pay for your medical care, but that's outrageously expensive. It's okay, money well spent, but it's very, very expensive. And one of the ways we pay for people's care, particularly for low-income Americans, but also now even more so for middle-class Americans since Obamacare passed, is through Medicaid. We spend almost $1 trillion on Medicaid every year. And once again, I'm not speaking against the concept of Medicaid. We don't want people to die in America. It's one of the things that separates us from other people. But we spend almost $1 trillion a year, and the federal government, some people don't know this, pays for 67% of all Medicaid spending. Some people refer to Medicaid as a federal state program, and it is. The state puts up some of the money, but the federal government puts up most of the money. We pay for about 67% of all the spending in Medicaid. And Medicaid keeps going up. I mean, I've seen studies that show it's going up anywhere consistently between 6 and 8% every single year. And when you're spending $1 trillion and it goes up 6 to 8%, you're talking about real money. What we also know is that there is an enormous amount of fraud in Medicaid. I mean, we know that. There are a lot of studies out there, and not everyone can agree on how much, but I have seen studies from reputable think tanks that show that Medicaid fraud, stealing in the Medicaid program, runs between $1.1 and $1.2 trillion over a 10-year period. Can you imagine what we could do to lower interest rates or to reduce taxes if we could save $1.2 trillion on our budget? Now, how does this happen? Well, first of all, why don't the states do a better job of controlling the fraud? And I said, why am I blaming the states? Well, because it's a federal state program, and the feds put up 67% of the money, but the states administer that program. And some states do a pretty good job. Some states do a very good job. Some states are terrible at it. I don't know exactly why that is, but every state, I want to make this clear, has fraud. I saw an audit done by our Inspector General in Louisiana a few years ago, and he talked about the incidence of fraud in the Medicaid program in Louisiana, the people who were getting Medicaid who didn't qualify. And I said, can you send me a list of all the people you found in the Medicaid program who didn't qualify, who were making too much money? I don't want names. I just want the amounts of money that they were making and how long they'd been on Medicaid. And he sent me the list. And if I stacked it up here, I could stand on it and paint the ceiling. I mean, we had people making $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 a year getting Medicaid. Now, that was the state's fault for not checking.
I'm going to extend it there. This goes on and on. If you want to see the rest of it, the producer Susan will get it up on the website. Going to make a little note here. Okay. All right. We're going to move right into our taxpayer relief shot. Now, you're a couple of thugs, and you're going to stage a home invasion. And first of all, the house you pick is a retired sheriff. You think the retired sheriff has a gun in his house?
Absolutely.
And
probably more than one.
Probably more than one. And if you decide that you're going to bring a couple of baseball bats to a gunfight with a retired sheriff, how do you think that's going to turn out?
That's not going to turn out very well for you.
All right. And now all right. So two guys decide to bring baseball bats to a gunfight with a retired sheriff. Here we go.
To some other news now. What police are calling an attempted home invasion at the home of a retired D.C. police officer ended with one of the suspects dead and another on the run.
Wait. One guy got shot and his buddy ran away and left him there. Has that ever happened before?
Shocking.
Shocking. Here we go.
This happened late last night in Huntingtown in Calvert County. ABC 7's Jennifer Donlan joins us now from the scene with the latest. Jen?
Well, there's a little dead spot in the audio here. It'll come back up in a second. Here we go. Hang on.
Neighbors tell us there are at least 8 to 9 active police officers living in this neighborhood and another 4 to
8 to 9 living in the same neighborhood. It's like an enclave of police officers.
5 retired officers, including the home behind me, there in the background. That is the home where one of the suspects was killed by a retired police officer. The gunshots was about 4 or 5 at first, and then 4 or 5, even more after that. And everybody came out. Residents in a tight-knit Huntingtown community are on edge tonight after they say 2 men with baseball bats tried to invade a neighbor's house on Easter Sunday. The home belongs to a retired D.C. police officer who authorities said shot and killed one of the suspects.
The homeowner was in fear for his life. Therefore, he was acting in self-defense.
Despite a bullet hole near her front door and another just beneath her daughter's bedroom, Dana McEnany was glad her retired neighbor protected himself and his wife.
It freaked me out more if West hadn't had a gun and hadn't been able to protect themselves, or if they would have come here instead, because we don't know if it's random.
Calvert County Sheriff's Office said the 2 suspects started banging on the front door around 10:30 last night, so the retired police officer came to the door armed with a handgun. Once there, detectives said the men made aggressive movements, and that's when the homeowner fired. The wounded suspect only made it to the bottom of the driveway, where he fell down and died. The other man made...
And what do we call it when he dies? What's that called?
Dead right there.
DRT, dead right there. All right.
To a car and sped away. Residents said their neighbor fired shots at the car as it drove off. And that was the guys driving. They found bullets on the road. Several retired and active area police officers live in the neighborhood. Even car break-ins are rare, according to residents. That left many here wondering why the house was hit in the first place.
Those are things we're still trying to figure out, and those are good questions.
Now, also curious, there are indicators on the car that was parked in front of the house that this was indeed the home of a police officer. There's a sticker, there's Fraternal Order of Police written on his license plate. Now, as far as the suspect that was killed, they have not released his identity as of yet. And as far as that car that sped away from us, well, we understand from the Sheriff's Department, they don't have an exact description, but the sheriff said it's full of bullet holes. Reporting live, I'm Jennifer Donlan. Back to you.
Well, turning to some...
Full of cars. So looking for a car full of bullet holes. And if you're these thugs and you're coming up and you see the guy's license plate, Fraternal Order of Police, wouldn't you say maybe we should pick a different house?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Time for me to wrap up. Anything you want to add before we sign off?
Yeah, no, I just looked up where Hell, Michigan is. So it's halfway between Lansing and Ann Arbor. So Lansing is the home of Michigan State, and Ann Arbor is the home of University of Michigan, and it's about an hour apart, so about a half hour right in between.
About 30 minutes, 30 minutes from Lansing, 30 minutes from
you got 2 really big 10 rivals right there.
Yeah, and it's two college towns, and you got hell right between 2 college towns. All right, all right. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you for everyone who listened, for giving up 30 minutes, in this case, probably 25 minutes out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on about the things that I find of interest and importance. And I hope you found them as interesting and important as I did. If you want to see some of the show materials and story links you heard me talk about today, and particularly watch some of the videos, because you don't really get the full effect until you see, some of the visual clues in these videos, particularly the black woman in Cook County. Give producer Susan a couple days and she'll get them up on the website. And that website is JerzeeJoe.com. You spell Jersey, J-E-R, as in Robert, Z as in zebra, E-E, JerzeeJoe.com, no space. If you'd like me to send you one of those links directly, if you want a specific link, just send me an email to joe@JerzeeJoe.com. Or if you have a question or you have a topic you think I should cover, by all means, just send me an email to joe@JerzeeJoe.com. Be happy to work it into the next podcast. And with that, producer Susan, anything you want to add before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. Well, talk to you next week. Thanks for your help.
All
Take
right.
care. Bye-bye.